Cancer, welcome to your astrology reading for the month of October. So before I jump into it, this is going to be most applicable for your rising sign, which is the ruler of your first house. It's how other people perceive you, especially when they first meet you. It's also applicable for your sun sign, which is how you express yourself, and then your moon sign, which is how you process everything emotionally, so that internal subjective lens. Jumping right into the month of October, right away we start out with an eclipse. And so on October 2nd, we have the new moon in the sign of Libra. It's going to happen at 2:49 in the afternoon Eastern time. This is an annual solar eclipse. We're in the process of closing out the Aries Libra eclipse season, moving into the Pisces Virgo eclipse season. So we just saw that a couple weeks ago on the 17th, where we just had our first glimpse of what that full moon in Pisces, a partial lunar eclipse looks like, and that one was pretty positive here. And so what we're looking at here is another one. I would say that this one is also positive. It is this new moon, so you've got the sun and the moon at the same degree point in the sky, so complete overlapping energies. For you, Libra is in your fourth house. This is your house of home. Love to see it because this is a lot of balanced expression at home, a lot of feeling very balanced at home. That's what all of this is about. In fact, it's not just the sun and the moon that are at the same degree point. They're also in a conjunction with Mercury, which means there's conversations that are happening at home or maybe about your home, things like that. Everything's very balanced, coming together. Feels really, really good from that perspective. The only, I would say, frustration or kind of challenge right now during this new moon is that the sun and moon will square Mars in Cancer. So Mars in Cancer is in your first house. So if there's any kind of action that you want to take that is solely in your best interest, this is where the friction comes into play, that this is an obstacle or challenge. And it has a lot to do with if the action is going to kind of go against that equilibrium or go against any kind of compromise that might be happening in your home environment, now's probably not the time to act. Or you just have to find a way to make it all work, because you can make it all work. It's a square energy. You just have to put the effort in to make it work. And then on the 8th, we have Venus trine Mars. And so normally I don't talk about these kind of individual transits, because if I did, this video would probably be hours long for every single sign and nobody would want to hear me speak for that amount of time, nor would I be able to record them. So this one was significant because of Venus wanting to bring things together, because that's what Venus does. It rules relationships. And then you've got Mars that wants to separate. And so the two of them in a trine, Venus wants to put a positive spin on any kind of action that you're taking. So where you normally might want to separate something, Venus wants to bring it together. And so that's going to happen on October 8th at 6:21 in the morning Eastern time. Venus is in the sign of Scorpio. Mars is in the sign of Cancer. And so what this means is Venus and Scorpio bringing something together as it relates to you, your children if you have them, any kind of like hobbies, things that you enjoy doing for fun. Anything you enjoy outside of work is really part of this fifth house energy, but these would be kind of deep, intense connections. So a connection with your art, if that's your hobby, or with children, or with whatever you do for fun. It's going to easily blend with whatever action that you want to take as it relates to your physical self. Love to see this. This is really positive. It's also going to trine. So Venus is also going to trine Saturn retrograde in Pisces, which means that whatever these intense connections you have with, again, maybe children, maybe passions, hobbies, short-term relationships as well, it's going to easily blend with whatever internal work you're doing to go after kind of growth and expansion, because that Saturn retrograde in Pisces is in your ninth house of growth and expansion. So I love to see this energy because there's a real connection between whatever it is that you're trying to do with again, children or passions, and kind of your own growth and expansion, as well as this, whatever action you want to take on yourself, because Mars in Cancer, same energy. Mars in Cancer will trine Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So what this actually looks like is a true triangle. We've got all 3 points of the triangle here. So it's a lot of blending energies. It's a lot of working together, easy flow of energy here. Love to see this. We also have Venus in Scorpio and Mars in Cancer. They're both going to trine Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So same type of energy, except now instead of focusing on the work that you're doing to achieve your goals for growth and expansion, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish there, might be connected to your hobbies, might be connected to your person. All three are definitely connected. So it's not even just about the work that you're doing to make that a reality. It's also, what are those goals in general? What kind of evaluating and reevaluating are you doing on those goals? Because that Venus and Scorpio energy is also going to trine Neptune retrograde in Pisces, which ultimately, when you think about what your goals are, that's what it is. Saturn is there to help you do the work to get them. And the same thing with that Mars in Cancer. What actions are you taking to go after your goals and dreams? I mean, this is like full alignment. This is a really, really solid blend of energy for you. Very positive. And then we do have Venus in Scorpio opposite Uranus retrograde in Taurus. To me, this isn't that big of a deal because what you're really focused on are these deep connections that you might have with children, your hobbies, things like that. It's going to be opposite to any kind of changes that are happening with your friendships. It just feels like now's not the time. It is a push-pull energy. You could find a way to make it all work, but if your emphasis right now, and it does seem to be on your 5th house, on your 1st house, on your 9th house, so your person, your growth and expansion, your hobbies, your children, anything that you enjoy doing for fun, maybe now's not the right time to focus on your friends. And then on the 9th, we actually have Jupiter station retrograde in the sign of Gemini. So that's going to happen at 3:04 in the morning, Eastern time. And Jupiter stationing retrograde. So this one's a pretty big deal. Jupiter is the most benefic planet. So think of the Midas touch. Everything it touches turns to gold. But when it turns retrograde, instead of that growth and expansion being outward, it's now directed inward. But it's actually at its weakest point right now in the sign of Gemini because it rules Sagittarius, but Sagittarius is opposite from Gemini. But that doesn't make it, so it might make it less of growth and expansion, but it's still a positive planet. This is still going to be positive where it impacts you in your life. And so for you, this Jupiter retrograde in Gemini is in your 12th house. This is your house of self-conscious, subconscious. So it's your inner self here. And anything that you might be doing behind the scenes. So there's a lot of inner growth, like internal growth happening here, and that is going to easily blend and easily flow with feeling balanced in your home life because this Jupiter retrograde in Gemini will trine the sun in Libra. So I love to see that. This Jupiter retrograde in Gemini is also going to trine Mercury in Libra, which means it's not just about the way that you're expressing yourself at home that's balanced. It's any kind of conversations around your home. It's also going to be balanced. So there's some sort of behind the scenes growth, this inner growth that you're experiencing here, really getting into the details, understanding the impact to you. It's also going to fully align with any kind of balanced conversations here. This Jupiter retrograde in Gemini will sextile Chiron retrograde in Aries. And so this internal growth that's happening, it's going to create an opportunity to heal a wound connected to your career or public reputation. So if you felt like maybe you weren't you felt not secure, like that you weren't worthy, that's the word I was looking for, that you weren't worthy of achieving a certain level in your career or going after something here that you really wanted, that would be a wound. That would be some sort of insecurity wound that would be coming to the surface here that you would be able to address as it relates to your career and public reputation. It does require you to actually do something about it. You're not going to be able to just sit there and let it happen. It's an opportunity. It's not like a blend of energy. And then we have Jupiter retrograde in Gemini square Saturn retrograde in Pisces. And so this kind of inner growth that's happening, really getting into the details of it all, it's going to create an obstacle or challenge as far as the work that you've been doing to achieve other results, other types of growth within your life. And then same thing with that Neptune retrograde in Pisces. This Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, that inner growth that you're trying to accomplish here, it's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge to other growth that you want to achieve. So think of like those ultimate goals that you have for yourself. This is just creating an obstacle or challenge to get there. And then Jupiter retrograde in Gemini is opposite the moon in Sagittarius. And so for you, this is 12th house, 6th house energy, where Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, this internal growth that you're going for, any kind of getting into the details, what do you need to do to expand, it's going to be opposite kind of how you feel from a big picture standpoint about your life. And so that moon in Sagittarius is in your 6th house of daily routines. And so there's something about your daily routines that just doesn't align with the growth that you're seeking. But you can kind of see why in the way that I'm phrasing it. It's the moon in Sagittarius, I feel good with where things are. but you're trying to grow. So that's where the disconnect is coming from. And we're actually going to see that a couple of times throughout the month, where you're going to have a hard time staying balanced because you're in the middle of transforming, or you're going to be feeling balanced and it's going to make transformation difficult. And so it gets better. It's just that we're in this kind of transitory phase right now until we get past a lot of this retrogrades and everything else that's happening here. 2025 is going to be more significant in that way. Pluto actually stations direct in the sign of Capricorn. So this has been a long time coming. I don't know about you, but I have felt this has been a long time coming. So this happens on October 11th at 8:32 in the evening Eastern time. This one's a big deal because this is the last time that it's in the sign of Capricorn in our lifetime. And Capricorn is all about structures, and structures meaning that it can get to a point where they become so limited, so rigid, that you don't have any room to move, that you've put yourself in such a tight box that there is no window to get out. That's what the Pluto in Aquarius has kind of showed us. That's why we're back in Capricorn now, to kind of reevaluate those structures. We've been doing that work. When Pluto was retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, after being in Aquarius, it learned what it needed in order to feel liberated. It learned what you needed in order to feel liberated. And so now that we're back in the sign of Capricorn, it's okay, we've incorporated all this knowledge. We did a lot of internal reflection on what needs to stay, what needs to go. And so now it's about, okay, well, what else needs to change? What else, maybe what new structures do we need to put in place? And can we make them more flexible next time? Do they have to be so rigid? And so for you, Pluto in Capricorn is sitting in your 7th house. And so think of, if you're married, it's your marriage partner, a significant relationship in your life. So maybe somebody that you're living with, or just really in general, those kind of really significant one-to-one relationships. And so Pluto in Capricorn for you in your 7th house, it's going to blend with the moon in Aquarius. And so moon in Aquarius is in your 8th house of transformation. And so you got the planet in transformation blending with the house of transformation. There's structure and limitation and flexibility coming into play here. And so when it comes to your significant other and that relationship, what kind of flexibility do you need to build into it? That's what it's all about. That's what this Pluto stationing direct is really showing you. It's giving you that opportunity to maybe reestablish something here. This Pluto in Capricorn will trine Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so the changes or the structure that you're implementing in your significant relationship here, in your marriage, if you're married, it's going to easily blend with whatever changes are happening with your friends. So that's pretty positive. And Pluto in Capricorn will sextile Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so these changes that are taking place within your significant relationship here are going to create an opportunity for you to really grow and expand the way that you want. That Neptune in Pisces energy is sitting in your house of growth and expansion. So really think about your goals here. This is one that you're going to have to seize the opportunity. It's not just going to organically happen. And then we have Pluto in Capricorn square Mercury in Libra. And so Pluto in Capricorn, again, when it comes to the changes that are happening within your relationship here, it's going to create obstacles or challenges to feeling balanced at home. But this is what I was saying before. This is because we've got transformation taking place in that relationship. It makes it really hard to have balanced conversations at home because you're in the middle of a transformation. That makes sense. Pluto in Capricorn will also square Chiron retrograde in Aries. And so these changes that are happening in that relationship, they're creating obstacles or challenges to healing a wound connected to your career or public reputation. And it just, again, kind of going back to the transformation versus like, you're really only going to be able to act, really clearly act to heal something when you're in a grounded state. If you're in the middle of transforming, it's very hard to take some sort of action here to heal because you're in the middle of the transformation. Pluto in Capricorn will be opposite Mars in Cancer. Not a surprise there. So it's 7th house, 1st house, which means that you're very focused on making changes in your significant relationship and a little bit less in taking action for yourself. It's that kind of me versus we mentality. And then on the 13th, we have Mercury enter the sign of Scorpio. So that's going to happen at 3:24 in the afternoon Eastern time. And so Scorpio is a very deep, intense sign. Mercury, all about conversations, processing information. Love to see this energy. it's sitting in your 5th house. So Scorpio rules your 5th house, and that's your house of fun again. So think of like children if you have them, your passions, your hobbies, anything you do outside of work that you enjoy doing. And so these would be really deep, intense, transformative conversations, either with your children, about children, or connected to your hobbies, your interests, things like that. It's going to conjunct the Sun in Libra. So if you do have children here, this would be something where maybe conversations with your children, there's something transformative about this. It's going to easily blend with feeling balanced at home, the way that you're expressing yourself at home. So I love to see that energy coming into play. Or it could be your hobbies might be connected to home in some sort of way. Maybe you do them out of your home like this here. So it could be something like that. Then we have Mercury in Scorpio trine the moon in Aquarius. And so these transformative, these deep, intense conversations that you're having around children or around your hobbies, it's going to easily blend with how you feel about your own growth and transformation, because that moon in Aquarius is sitting in your house of transformation, and Aquarius is liberation. So how do you feel about that? So this is a really positive one. Mercury in Scorpio trine Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. And so these transformative conversations that are taking place, they're going to easily flow with whatever internal changes are happening for you that are meant for your growth and expansion. Then we have Mercury in Scorpio square Mars in Cancer. And so these transformative conversations around children, around hobbies, passion projects, all of that, it's creating obstacles or challenges to taking any kind of action as it relates to you, your physical person. We also have Mercury in Scorpio square Pluto in Capricorn. And so these conversations, again, these deep, intense, transformative conversations, creating obstacles or challenges as it relates to making changes in that relationship with your significant other, your marriage partner, if you're married, that relationship there. It's more of the emphasis rate at this point on the 13th is around children or your hobbies versus your significant other. You can make it work though, because I'm getting the same square to you as your physical person. So it just feels like it's not about you or your partner. It's about the children or your hobbies. If you don't have children, anyway, you could work with the energy. You just have to find a way to work through it. And then we have the full moon in Aries. So that happens on the 17th at 7:26 in the morning Eastern time. And so for you, because this is Aries Libra energy, Libra is in your 4th house of home. Aries is your 10th house of career and public reputation. So this is a lot of work-life balance, if you think of it that way. And there's some sort of balanced expression happening at home that is going to be opposite how you feel about your career, and maybe some sort of action that you're trying to take within your career. The Sun in Libra will be opposite Chiron in Aries, which kind of makes sense because it's that Libra-Aries connection again. And so feeling balanced and expressing yourself in a very balanced way at home, it's going to create, well, it's not going to create a challenge. It's actually going to be completely opposite. So it's going to be a more difficult aspect to work through, where it's contrary to taking any kind of action to heal a wound, but it's more because you're trying to keep the peace at home. That's definitely a Libra energy. Whereas the moon in Aries conjunct Chiron in Aries, so how you feel about your career is going to give you the leverage, give you that kind of incentive to take some sort of action to heal the wound connected to your career or public reputation. And then we have the Sun in Libra trine Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, which just means that balanced self-expression at home. It's going to easily blend with whatever internal growth is happening for you, like really understanding the details of it, what needs to change, what needs to grow here. Whereas the moon in Aries will sextile Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. So how you feel about your career, it's going to create an opportunity for internal growth, but this is something that you would have to take action on. It's not something that's just going to organically happen. And then we have the Sun in Libra square Mars in Cancer. And so that balanced self-expression at home, it's going to create challenges to taking some sort of action that's in your best interest. And I don't say that in a negative way. I mean, it's really about like prioritizing yourself versus your entire home life. So if you have a family, something like that, it would be prioritizing them over yourself. That's where the challenge is coming into play. And it's the same thing with the moon in Aries. So feeling balanced at home, it's going to make it difficult for you to take some sort of action related to yourself. How you feel about your career is also going to make it difficult to taking some sort of action for yourself. And then we have the sun and moon. So that was a T-square to Mars and Cancer. It's the same thing with Pluto and Capricorn. So feeling balanced and expressing yourself in a really balanced way at home is going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge to making changes in your significant relationship, into your spouse or your partner there in that relationship. And the same thing with the moon in Aries. How you feel about your career is also going to create some sort of challenge to making any change when it comes to that relationship and the structure of that relationship. Then the same day that we have the full moon in Aries, we have Venus enter the sign of Sagittarius. And so that's also on the 17th. That one is at 3:29 in the afternoon Eastern time. Venus in Sagittarius. So Venus likes to bring things together. It rules relationships. It's definitely focused on what you value. It's the ruler of both Taurus and Libra. So very, very grounded, very practical, that kind of energy. And then you've got Sagittarius. It's very fun-loving, always seeking an adventure, always wants to learn and grow. It's the perpetual student. So for you, Venus in Sagittarius is in your 6th house. So think of all the growth and expansion opportunities here. What is it that you want to bring together in your daily life? Is there some sort of relationship you want to bring together in your daily life? Because this is a really positive blend of energy with that Venus in Sagittarius. And then Venus in Sagittarius will trine Mars in Cancer. And so what action do you want to take? Because that Mars in Cancer is about you and your physical person. What are you trying to bring together in your daily life? Where do you see the optimism and growth opportunities? Venus in Sagittarius will also trine Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so when you think about your goals, your, again, growth and expansion, because that Pisces energy is your goals, but that 9th house is growth and expansion, very similar to Sagittarius energy. And so what do you want to bring together? What are your goals when it comes to your daily life? And when I say daily life, it's the things that you do on a regular basis. It's not like the one-off parties that you go to, but it's kind of what does your normal Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of look like? The things that you do on a regular basis. So what do you want for yourself? Because this is more of like a green light to go after it. We have Venus in Sagittarius, sextile Pluto in Capricorn. And so whatever you're trying to accomplish in your daily life, bringing something together, going on an adventure, fun-loving, optimism, lots of positive adjectives to be used in this scenario with this Venus in Sagittarius. It's creating an opportunity for changes to take place in your significant relationship here. And then we do have Venus in Sagittarius opposite Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so these, again, think of it like your fun-loving daily life here, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, bring together, whatever you value. It is going to be opposite any kind of changes that are taking place in your relationships with your friends. And friends from a collective standpoint, not the individual relationships there. And then on the 22nd, we have the sun enter the sign of Scorpio. This happens at 6:15 in the evening Eastern time. And so sun in Scorpio, so the sun, again, how you're expressing yourself, Scorpio is transformative. It's a very deep, intense transformation type of energy. It is very similar to that 8th house energy. And so for you, that sun in Scorpio is in your 5th house, which is about your children, your passions, anything that you enjoy doing outside of work. There's something deeply transformative about this. It's really being highlighted when the sun is in Scorpio. And so when the sun is in Scorpio, it's going to trine Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. And that means that however you're expressing yourself, if you're expressing yourself with children or through your hobbies or in connection to your hobbies, it's going to easily blend with whatever internal growth that you're trying to achieve here. That's significant. We also have the sun in Scorpio square Pluto in Capricorn. And so whatever's happening here in your 5th house, so these transformative conversations, the way that you're expressing yourself with children, through your hobbies, all of these different things, it is creating obstacles or challenges to the transformation happening within your significant relationship here. But it's also going to create obstacles or challenges to taking any kind of action on your own. So we saw this before with the other Scorpio transits, where the focus seems to be more, if you have children, it's on children. If it's your passions, hobbies, whatever is in that 5th house, that seems to be front and center. Everything else kind of seems to be on the back burner. You can certainly work through it. You just have to find a way to work through it. And then we have the Sun in Scorpio opposite Chiron retrograde in Aries. And so this transformative self-expression, again, through hobbies, maybe with children, something along those lines. It's just contrary to any kind of action you would want to take to heal that wound in your career or public reputation. So that those wounds tend to be a lot more personal because it is your personal reputation, it is your career. So it's a sense of not feeling worthy or insecurities connected to it. But again, the emphasis isn't on you right now. It's on maybe these children, if you have them, or your passions, hobbies, things like that. And then to end out the month, we have Mercury trine Neptune. And I thought this one was really significant because I don't usually get into some of these other transits. This one here on the 31st at 8:33 p.m. Eastern Time, Mercury is in the sign of Scorpio. Neptune retrograde is in Pisces. And so where we've had a lot of conversation around your fifth house, this is more of that conversation. And this is legit conversation because it's Mercury. So Mercury and Scorpio. These would be those transformative conversations around children, with your children, hobbies, passions, all of those things. It's going to easily blend with how you see your life progressing. What goals do you have in place? Because that's what Neptune retrograde in Pisces is all about. It's a lot of you reflecting on your own growth. What do you want for yourself? Emphasis on want, because these are your dreams. And that's an easy blend of energy. And so when it comes to not just your own growth, but it's also the action that you want to take, because Mercury and Scorpio will trine Mars in Cancer. And so when you think about these transformative conversations that are taking place, it's also going to easily flow with whatever action that you want to take for yourself. Neptune retrograde in Pisces will trine Mars in Cancer, just like Mercury did. And so this is about reflecting on those goals that you've set for yourself, the progress that you're making, reevaluating all of it. It's easily going to blend with whatever action that you're trying to take for yourself. We also have Mercury in Scorpio, sextile Pluto in Capricorn. So these transformative conversations around children, around your passions, your hobbies, things like that, it's going to create some sort of opportunity here for changes to happen in your significant relationship. Neptune in Pisces is going to create the same opportunity where reflecting on your goals and your growth opportunities, it's going to create an opportunity itself for some sort of change to happen in that significant relationship. And then we have Mercury in Scorpio opposite Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so these transformative conversations are going to be opposite any kind of changes that are happening when it comes to your friends. And so Uranus retrograde in Taurus, it hasn't been coming up a lot this month, but this is those internal changes in the way that you maybe think about your friendships, your group of friends as a collective. It just feels like now's not the time to be focused on that. There's a lot of focus elsewhere in your chart, not there. And just like we saw with Mercury opposite, we'll see Neptune retrograde in Pisces sextile. So when you think about your just overall goals, not your career, but just in general, what is your overall growth strategy? Where do you ideally want to be? It's going to create an opportunity for maybe even more changes to take place. Maybe the way that you perceive your group of friends, the way that you interact with your group of friends. So it's an opportunity you would have to seize. And then Neptune retrograde in Pisces will square Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. And so when you think about overall your growth and expansion and the direction that you want to go, it's going to create challenges to any kind of inner growth that you're going through. And again, it's like, do you want to focus on the outside? Do you want to focus on the inside? And that's where you start to see some of these obstacles and challenges come into play. You can find a way to make it both work. You just have to work through the energy. It's not impossible though. So Cancer, this is your reading. I hope it resonates. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care.